Goblins. They were always a bit of a joke, weren't they? That one, though, I tell you, nothing funny about him. Didn't even think him a goblin, given his size. Only know he was because he kept shouting it. Goblin King this, fattest of goblins that. But true though, proper huge he was. Sigmar knows how one of those little buggers gets to that. Loads of them came out of the forest. Elves were waiting for him though. Everything they said about him is true. They didn't scramble around like our Empire lads, nah. They seemed to move as one, like watching a machine. Must have been outnumbered 10-1. Didn't see an ounce of fear though. Gobbos, they had these wagons, I guess you'd call them. Disgusting little buggers crawling all over them. They missed the first line of elves, went right round the back. So I'm going with the fat one. He picked up some real speed. Crazy, given the size of him. They went to flank, but the elves, they were too smart for him. They were 2 moves ahead and throwing their own horsemen into the gobbos. Those knights, cool, they sent the goblins flying. Pretty funny, actually, I mean. I'm sure them knights must have been laughing. If elves can laugh, come to think of it. I was surprised the goblins didn't turn tail and leg it right there. The elves had scores of archers, and they never stopped. Their aim was unbelievable. I swear I saw an arrow split one of the little gits in 2. Goblins tried to fire back, beat them at their own game, but it were no contest. Like a puppy picking a fight with a demogryph. Anyway, turns out they had good reason not to run. This was just the first wave, the vanguard. More came from the forest, loads of them, hundreds easy, maybe 1,000. The trees shook from the numbers and from that thing. Didn't even know something like this were possible. Size of an house. Legs big enough to go straight through a man. Or an elf. There was some goblin on top of it. Real silly looking. Might have found it funny if he weren't, on top of a giant bloody spider. Didn't seem to have much of an effect on the elves, all this. They started moving, crisscrossing the field, getting into position to face the new wave of gobs. Their archers repositioned and showered that big one with arrows. Didn't do nothing, mind you. Big bloody thing was armored like a steam tank. All the while, in the background, I could see that fat one, picking off any elf he could. He really took a beating. There was this group of trolls, right? Went mad or something. Crashed through the line and tried to take on the elven archers. Elves shot them dead like fish in a barrel. Trolls. Those things are supposed to be unkillable. But the fat goblin, they tried the same with him and he just shrugs it off. Wherever he went, there were chaos. The elves were well trained, well armored. They weren't mucking about. They got thrown around like dolls. Caused a fair bit of panic, this did. Those that were fighting the gobs weren't getting the support they needed. The archers out of position. Horsemen looked like they didn't know whether they should be helping the front or the back. Chaos. How does a single goblin disrupt a whole army? One elf was holding it all together, right in the thick of the fight. Always thought of elves as calm, composed. This one had a real fury to him. Hundreds of dead gobbos around him. Spent the battle covered in blood and gore and goblin bits. He enjoyed it, I could tell. The goblins, trolls, whatever the greens threw at him, they died. He was like some sort of otherworldly force. It was like some story of old. Overwhelming odds. Some champion in the thick of it all seems lost, but he fights and fights and finally he wins, 'cause he's the hero. I thought that's how it goes. The fat goblin, he gets what he deserves and his mates scatter. They put his head on a pike and he never bothers the elves again. Nah, guess that's not how it really works. The elves, they looked rock solid until they didn't. They started to scatter. Goblins swarmed over him. Rotten way to go, smothered by a goblin, bleeding out from all those rusty skewers. Horrible. The elves made a run for it. Most got caught and brought down, mind you. Seemed like it were only that hero left, and old Fatso thundered towards him. Elf threw some sort of fire at him, but it didn't slow him down. The elf had technique, but Goblin was stronger than anything I'd ever seen. I don't blame the elf for running. Couldn't picture the sort who'd go toe-to-toe with that brute. Didn't think it were possible for goblins to overrun an elven army. Guess life ain't a fairy tale. Don't reckon the Greenskins will stop there. Think there's dark days coming up for these elves. Don't want to be around for it. I'll take any boat I can off this godforsaken island. Should never have come here. Praise to the elder races. Pah! Couldn't even defend themselves against a bunch of goblins. Bet you them dwarfs would have handled them. And that was the first-hand account of a clash between Grom the Paunch and Tyrion. If you are hearing this now, it means you watched the whole thing. Good for you. My name is Willis, and this channel is me exploring how I can turn some of my favourite games into stories. In this case, what if every battle in Total War came with some peasant lad called Barnabus hiding behind a tree who witnessed the whole thing? I'm sure some of you are wondering how some imperial peasant got to Ulthuan. That's a good question, and I'm sure it has an answer. If you've enjoyed yourself here, great news, there's more. I've got a couple of other battle videos like this, as well as a full Grom campaign story if you want to see a whole bunch of elves get bashed, as well as some Bretonnians. I'll leave links to these in the video description, and any factions and lords you want to see get the old story treatment, give me a shout in the comments and I'll add them to my list. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you another day for another story.